Captain Hana stood on the bridge of her ship, the infinite horizon, watching the stars through the wide viewing screen. She had been exploring space for 15 years, discovering new planets and mapping unknown regions. Today should have been like any other day, but it was not. Her scanner operator suddenly shouted, "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures. Something big is coming our way." Hana moved quickly to look at the data. Her heart began to race. The readings showed something impossible. Hundreds of ships were emerging from hyperspace. Each one was larger than anything humanity had ever built. 300 warships appeared before them, blocking out the stars with their massive dark hulls. "Try to contact them," Hana ordered, keeping her voice calm even though fear gripped her chest. "Let them know we come in peace." The communications officer worked quickly, sending messages in every language and frequency humans knew. For several long minutes there was only silence. Then the screen flashed and a face appeared. It was not human. The alien was tall and wore elaborate armor covered in symbols. His eyes were cold, looking at Hana the way someone might look at an insect. When he spoke, the translation software struggled to keep up. "I am High Commander Vexith of the Verath Dominion. Your species has been located. You will submit to our rule within 72 hours. Surrender all your military ships. Accept our governors on all your worlds. Give us 20% of your population to work for us. If you refuse, we will destroy you completely." The screen changed, showing horrifying images. Entire planets burning, cities reduced to ash. Species Hana had never seen before wiped out completely. The message was clear: obey or die. Hana felt sick but kept her face neutral. "We will deliver your message to our leaders. But know this, Commander, humanity does not make decisions out of fear." Vexith laughed, a sound without warmth. "They all say that at first. Then they see our power and they kneel. You will too." The screen went black. Hana immediately sent an emergency message to Earth. Within hours, the United Earth Council gathered in their main chamber. Leaders from every nation and colony attended. The mood was dark. Admiral Taeyang reviewed the data Hana had sent. He was a veteran military leader, a man who had fought in the Mars Rebellion years ago. He knew war. But this was different. The Dominion fleet was larger than all human forces combined. "We cannot win a direct fight," Taeyang said bluntly. "Their technology is more advanced. Their numbers are overwhelming. If we fight them ship to ship, we lose." Some council members wanted to surrender immediately. "Better to live under their rule than die," one said. "We can preserve humanity by accepting their terms." Others were furious. "Preserve humanity? You mean preserve our bodies while destroying our souls? They want to enslave us. I would rather die fighting than live on my knees." Ambassador Bora stood up. She was Earth's chief diplomat, known for her skill in negotiation. "Perhaps there is another way. We pretend to consider their offer. I will meet with this Vexith personally. While we talk, we prepare for war. We buy time." Taeyang nodded slowly. "It is risky. They might kill you just for asking questions." "Then I die doing my duty," Bora replied. "But while I talk, I will observe. I will learn about their ships, their tactics, their weaknesses. Every piece of information might save billions of lives." The council voted. The decision was made. Bora would meet with Vexith. Meanwhile, Admiral Taeyang would begin preparing Earth's defenses in secret. 2 days later, Bora traveled to Vexith's flagship. The ship was enormous, the size of a small city. Inside, everything was designed to intimidate. The corridors were too large, making humans feel small. The lighting was harsh. Guards in heavy armor stood everywhere. Vexith received her in a vast throne room. He sat elevated above her, forcing Bora to look up at him. It was a power move, one she recognized immediately. "You come to surrender?" Vexith asked. "I come to discuss terms," Bora replied carefully. "Your demands are significant. We need clarification on several points." For the next hour, Bora asked questions. She knew the answers did not matter. Vexith would not compromise. But she was not there to negotiate. She was there to learn. She observed how his crew moved, noting their procedures. She studied the ship's interior, memorizing layouts visible through doorways. She listened to how Vexith spoke about conquered species, understanding the Dominion's mindset. They believed absolutely in their superiority. They had conquered hundreds of species. Not once had they faced real resistance. In their minds, submission was the natural order of the universe. The strong ruled, the weak obeyed. Finally, Bora made her move. She requested terms she knew were impossible. Complete autonomy for human worlds, no tribute payments. Equal partnership rather than subjugation. Vexith's amusement turned to anger. You dare demand equality? You whose ships are primitives. Your species is nothing. You should be grateful we offer you the chance to serve us rather than simply exterminating you. Bora stood her ground. Then we have nothing more to discuss, Commander. Humanity will give you our answer in time. She returned to Earth safely. The Dominion was so confident they did not even consider her a threat. In their arrogance, they allowed her to leave with all the intelligence she had gathered. Bora met immediately with Taeyang and the Council. They are powerful but predictable, she reported. They have won so many times they have stopped thinking creatively. They expect us to fight like all the others. That is their weakness. Taeyang reviewed her observations. Plans formed in his mind. Unconventional tactics, guerrilla warfare in space, sacrifice plays and traps. Humanity could not match Dominion's strength, but perhaps they did not need to. Perhaps they could make victory so costly that even the Dominion would reconsider. The 72 hours ended. All across human space, people waited for the announcement. Would they surrender? Would they fight? The answer came not in words but in action. 3 Dominion scout ships patrolling near human territory suddenly exploded. Human warships had been lying in wait, hidden behind asteroids powered down to avoid detection. The ambush was perfect. Aboard his flagship, Vexith received the news with fury. He had expected either immediate surrender or a futile direct assault. Instead, humans had struck first using tactics he found dishonorable. But the loss of 3 ships meant nothing to his massive fleet. He would crush these humans quickly and make an example of them. Other species would learn that resistance only brought greater suffering. What Vexith did not understand was that humanity had studied history. They knew how smaller forces could defeat larger ones. They knew that willpower could overcome material advantage. They knew that sometimes the only way to survive was to fight so fiercely that your enemy regretted attacking you in the first place. The war had begun, and humanity would not go quietly into the night. High Commander Vexith chose his next target carefully. New Sol was humanity's second-largest colony, home to 3 billion people. Taking it would break human morale and demonstrate Dominion power. He assembled 200 warships for the attack. On New Sol, Lieutenant Minho sat in his fighter cockpit, hands shaking slightly. He was young, fresh from the academy. This would be his first real battle. Around him, other pilots prepared their ships, checking weapons and shields one final time. All pilots, this is Admiral Taeyang. The voice came through their communications. The enemy is approaching. They expect us to be afraid. They expect us to break and run. Show them they are wrong. Show them what humans do when pushed to the edge. Fight well and come home safe. Minho took a deep breath. Fear still gripped him, but he pushed it down. His hands steadied on the controls. The Dominion fleet arrived exactly when predicted. Vexith sat in his command chair, confident. His sensors showed only a small human defense force. Perhaps 80 ships, laughable, this would be over quickly. All ships advance, Vexith ordered. Target the human fleet first, then bombard the planet. The Dominion warships moved forward in perfect formation. They were halfway to New Sol when the first mines detonated. Thousands of nuclear mines, disguised to look like asteroids, exploded simultaneously. The Dominion had never bothered scanning for hidden weapons. Why would primitives think of such tactics? 7 Dominion ships vanished in the initial blasts. 12 more were heavily damaged. Vexith stood up in shock. What was that? Where did those weapons come from? Before his crew could answer, the real attack began. From behind the planet's rings, 300 human corvettes emerged. They were small, fast ships, barely larger than fighters. Individually, they were weak. Together, they were deadly. The corvettes swarmed the Dominion fleet like angry insects. They darted in, fired their weapons, then retreated before the heavy Dominion guns could target them. The large Dominion warships were built for fleet battles, not fighting small, fast enemies. Minho flew with his squadron, targeting a Dominion cruiser. His missiles struck the ship's side, creating small explosions. Alone, his attack did little damage. But 50 other fighters were hitting the same ship from different angles. Slowly, the cruiser's shields began to fail. Stay mobile, his squadron leader shouted. Don't give them time to lock on. A Dominion destroyer managed to target one of the corvettes. Its main gun fired and the small ship exploded. Minho watched his comrade die, feeling rage replace fear. He pushed his fighter harder, diving toward another enemy ship. Aboard the Dominion flagship, Commander Yuna's plan was working. She had hacked into the Dominion communications network weeks ago, during Ambassador Bora's visit. Now she activated her trap. False sensor readings appeared on Dominion screens. Ships saw threats that did not exist. Friendly fire incidents occurred as confused Dominion vessels shot at each other. Yuna sat at her computer terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard, creating chaos in the enemy fleet. Vexith realized he was being manipulated, but his crew could not stop it. The humans had infiltrated systems the Dominion thought were impossible to hack. Every order he gave was delayed or corrupted. His perfect fleet was becoming a confused mob. Focus fire on their communication ships, Vexith roared. Find the source of this interference. But Yuna was not on a ship. She was in a bunker on New Sol's surface, completely out of reach. The Dominion wasted precious time shooting at decoys. The battle raged for 6 hours. Slowly, the Dominion's superior numbers began to tell. Human ships fell one by one. Minho watched 3 members of his squadron die. His own fighter took damage, limping through space on failing engines. Then came the sacrifice play that changed the battle. Captain Jiho commanded the destroyer Dauntless. His ship was heavily damaged, systems failing, weapons offline. He could retreat and possibly survive. Instead, he made a different choice. This is Jiho to all human forces, he broadcast. We do not yield. We do not break. Remember us. He aimed his destroyer directly at Vexith's flagship and activated full thrust. The Dauntless accelerated, becoming a missile. Dominion point defense systems fired desperately, but the destroyer was already too close. The Dauntless struck the flagship's engine cluster at full speed. The explosion was massive. The flagship did not explode completely, but it was crippled, spinning out of control. Vexith was thrown from his chair as his ship lost power. For several minutes, the Dominion fleet was leaderless. Human forces pressed their advantage, destroying 3 more capital ships in the confusion. But eventually, Vexith's second-in-command restored order. The Dominion fleet regrouped and began systematic bombardment of New Sol's defenses. One by one, human ships withdrew. Admiral Taeyang gave the order to evacuate. General Suho had prepared for this moment. Beneath New Sol's surface were massive bunkers and underground tunnels. For months, he had secretly expanded them, creating a hidden city. Begin evacuation protocol, Suho ordered. Get everyone underground into the transport ships. Civilians poured into the tunnels in an organized rush. They had practiced this drill repeatedly. Stealth transports waited at hidden launch sites ready to carry refugees to safety. The Dominion did not understand humans evacuated their civilians. They assumed everyone stayed to fight. While the Dominion focused on the military ships, thousands of civilian transports slipped away, using the planet's magnetic field to hide their signatures. General Suho coordinated everything perfectly. By the time Dominion forces landed on the planet, 80% of the population was gone. Vexith stood on New Sol's surface 3 days later, surveying the captured planet. His fleet had won. The human defenders were destroyed or scattered. The planet was his, but he felt no satisfaction. His second-in-command approached with casualty reports. 47 ships destroyed, High Commander. 2 capital vessels lost. 8,000 troops dead. Hundreds more wounded. Vexith stared at the numbers in disbelief. In his long career, he had conquered 47 species. Never had he lost more than 5 ships in a single battle. These humans, with their primitive technology, had cost him nearly 50 vessels. And the human population? He asked. Most escaped, Commander. We estimate only 600 million remain on planet. The rest evacuated during the battle. Vexith's jaw tightened. The humans had tricked him again. They never intended to hold the planet. They used it as bait, inflicting maximum casualties before withdrawing. For the first time in his life, doubt crept into Vexith's mind. These humans were different. They did not fight with honor. They used tricks and deception. They sacrificed themselves willingly. And most disturbing of all, they seemed to learn from every encounter. Across human space, Captain Jiho's final words became a rallying cry. We do not yield. Every human heard those words and found strength. They had lost New Sol, but they had hurt the Dominion badly. Lieutenant Minho survived the battle, though his fighter was destroyed. He was rescued by a human corvette and brought to safety. As he rested in the medical bay, he made a silent promise to his fallen squadron. He would become the best pilot in the fleet. He would make their sacrifice mean something. Admiral Taeyang reviewed the battle data carefully. They had tested Dominion tactics and found weaknesses. The enemy could be hurt. They could bleed. And if they could bleed, they could eventually be defeated. The war was just beginning. But humanity had proven something important. They would not surrender. They would not break. And they would make the Dominion regret ever threatening Earth. 2 years passed. The war that was supposed to last weeks dragged on without end. High Commander Vexith found himself trapped in a conflict he could not win and could not escape. Every human world the Dominion conquered became a nightmare. Resistance fighters appeared from nowhere, attacking supply convoys and bases. The moment Dominion troops relaxed, bombs exploded. When they pursued the attackers, they found empty tunnels and abandoned buildings. On occupied New Sol, Dominion soldiers lived in constant fear. They could not tell civilians from fighters. A shopkeeper might smile and sell food during the day, then plant explosives at night. Children threw rocks at patrol vehicles. Old people spat at passing troops. "These humans are insane," one Dominion officer complained. "They know we can destroy their cities, yet they still resist. What is wrong with them?" What the Dominion did not understand was human history. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other. They had learned how to resist occupation. They knew that a determined population could not be conquered, only exterminated. And the Dominion needed workers, not empty planets. Meanwhile, Dr. Nari worked day and night in her laboratory. She led Project Phoenix, humanity's effort to reverse engineer captured Dominion technology. Around her, dozens of scientists studied alien weapons, shields, and engines. The shields work on a frequency rotation system, Nari explained to Admiral Taeyang during his visit. "Once we understand the pattern, we can build weapons that penetrate them." Taeyang studied the data. "How long until we can equip our fleet?" 6 months for the first batch. A year for full production. Nari looked tired but determined. "We are also developing something else, a communications jammer based on their own technology. If we can disrupt their fleet coordination, it levels the playing field." Human technology was advancing faster than ever before. Necessity drove innovation. Every captured Dominion ship was stripped down and studied. Every battle provided new data. Humanity was learning, adapting, evolving. Intelligence Officer J had a different weapon: information. He broadcast footage of human resistance across all Dominion channels. The message was simple but powerful. If humans could resist, why could not others? On planets throughout the Dominion, subjugated species watched these broadcasts in secret. They saw humans fighting impossible odds. They saw ordinary people becoming heroes. And slowly, questions began to form. Questions the Dominion could not answer. Ambassador Bora continued her most dangerous work. She secretly contacted the Torvan Republic, a species that had served the Dominion for 300 years. The Torvans were tired of being ruled by others, but they lacked the courage to rebel alone. "We cannot win alone," Bora told the Torvan representative during a secret meeting. "But together we can break the Dominion's power. Help us and we will help you gain freedom." The Torvan was cautious. "The Dominion has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. What makes you think humans can defeat them?" "Because we refuse to accept their rule," Bora replied. "Because every day they fight us, they grow weaker. Because tyranny always falls eventually. The only question is whether you will help push it over." The Torvan promised to consider it. Bora knew it would take time. But seeds of rebellion were being planted. Admiral Taeyang developed new tactics based on lessons learned. He called it the Hellstorm Doctrine. Instead of a few large ships, humanity would build hundreds of small ones. Fighters, corvettes, and frigates that could be produced quickly and cheaply. "We cannot match their quality," Taeyang explained to his officers. "So we overwhelm them with quantity. 100 small ships attacking from all directions are harder to fight than 10 large ones." Lieutenant Minho, now a veteran pilot with 15 kills, trained new recruits in these tactics. He was no longer the scared young man from New Sol. War had hardened him but also taught him. "Stay mobile, stay unpredictable," he told his students. "The Dominion trains for fleet battles. They expect us to line up and trade shots. Never do what they expect. Hit them from behind. Attack their weakest ships. Run when you are outnumbered. Live to fight another day." The war saw several critical battles during these 2 years. At Europa Station, Commander Yuna defended against a Dominion boarding attack. When enemy troops breached the hull, she did something unexpected. She vented entire sections of the station into space, creating debris fields that tore through the Dominion soldiers. It was brutal but effective. Europa Station held Captain Sora led a raid deep into Dominion space. Her stealth ships traveled for 3 months, avoiding patrols and hiding in asteroid fields. When they reached the target, a massive Dominion supply depot, they struck without mercy. Sora's team stole antimatter reserves that would have powered 100 Dominion ships. Then they planted explosives throughout the depot. The explosion destroyed the largest shipyard in the sector. The Dominion could not believe humans had struck so deep into their territory. They had thought their core worlds were safe. Suddenly, nowhere was safe. But the most important battle was the siege of Mars. General Suho turned humanity's first colony into an unbreakable fortress. The Dominion sent 50,000 troops to take it. Suho was ready. Mars had been colonized for 200 years. In that time, humans had dug thousands of kilometers of tunnels beneath the surface. These tunnels connected cities, mines, and military bases in a vast underground network. When Dominion forces landed, they found empty cities. Then the attacks began. Human soldiers appeared from hidden tunnels, fired their weapons, and disappeared before the Dominion could respond. Dominion troops pursued them into the tunnels, only to get lost in the maze. Suho knew every tunnel, every intersection, every hiding spot. He moved his forces through the underground network like blood through veins. The Dominion never knew where the next attack would come from. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The siege dragged on. Dominion casualties mounted. 10 deaths per day became 100. 100 became 1,000. Supply lines stretched thin. Morale collapsed. After 6 months, the Dominion withdrew from Mars, having lost 15,000 troops for nothing. They had never successfully occupied even one city. Mars remained free. News of Mars spread across the galaxy. The invincible Dominion had been beaten. They had been forced to retreat. Other subjugated species took notice. Some began small acts of resistance. Others started planning larger rebellions. Vexith faced increasing pressure from the Dominion Council. They summoned him to the capital for an explanation. "You promised us a swift victory," the council leader said coldly. "Instead, this war drags on. It consumes resources we need for other purposes. Worse, it inspires resistance in other sectors. You must end this, Vexith, quickly." Vexith bowed his head. "The humans are unlike any enemy we have faced. They do not fight honorably. They use tricks, and we do not care about honor." The council leader interrupted. "We care about results. You have 6 months to crush humanity completely. If you fail, another commander will take your place. And you know what happens to failed commanders." Vexith knew very well. Failed Dominion commanders were executed as examples to others. He returned to his fleet with a desperate plan. Gather every available Dominion warship, 5,000 vessels, the largest armada ever assembled. Strike directly at Earth. Cut off the head, and the body would die. If humanity lost Earth, they would lose their government, their military leadership, their will to fight. This gamble would either win the war or end Vexith's life. There was no middle ground. As Vexith prepared his massive fleet, he did not know that human intelligence had already learned of his plan. Ambassador Bora's contacts in the Torvan Republic had intercepted Dominion communications and passed them to Earth. Admiral Taeyang called an emergency meeting. The threat was clear. 5,000 ships against perhaps 800 human vessels. It was impossible. They could not win, unless they tried something no one had ever attempted before. Something so dangerous it might destroy Earth even if it succeeded. Taeyang looked at the faces around the table and saw the same determination he felt. Humanity would not surrender. Not now, not ever. If they had to risk everything to remain free, they would do it without hesitation. The final battle was coming, and it would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. Dr. Nari stood before the United Earth Council, her face pale but determined. On the screen behind her was a diagram of the most dangerous weapon humanity had ever conceived. "The Prometheus device," she explained, her voice steady. "It uses zero-point energy technology we captured from the Dominion and improved. When activated, it creates a localized space-time disruption. Gravity becomes unstable. Any ship within range will be torn apart." A council member raised his hand. "What is the range?" "The entire solar system," Nari replied. "Everything from the sun to beyond Pluto." Silence filled the chamber. Another council member spoke, her voice shaking. "You are saying this weapon would destroy Earth as well?" "Possibly," Nari admitted. "We do not have enough data to be certain. There is a chance Earth survives. But make no mistake, if we activate Prometheus with 5,000 Dominion ships in our system, most of them will die, and we might die with them. Admiral Taeyang stood. This is our only option. The Dominion fleet is too large. We cannot defeat them conventionally. But if we let them reach Earth and activate Prometheus, we take them with us. At least then humanity's colonies might survive. The debate lasted hours. Some council members argued for immediate surrender. Others wanted to fight without the device. But slowly a grim consensus formed. Better to die free than live as slaves. The vote was close, but it passed. Operation Prometheus was approved. Humanity would set a trap using Earth itself as bait. Immediately, secret evacuations began. Civilian ships left Earth in small groups, pretending to be cargo vessels or military transports. They carried millions of people to hidden colonies far from human space. Children, elderly, and non-essential personnel all had to leave. Many refused to go. "This is our home," one old man said. "I would rather die here than run." General Suho, coordinating the evacuation, looked at him sadly. "Your courage honors us, but we need survivors to rebuild. Please, for the future of humanity, go." Eventually, most civilians left, but thousands of volunteers stayed. Soldiers, certainly, but also doctors, engineers, and ordinary people who would not abandon Earth. They knew they would probably die, but chose to stay anyway. Commander Yuna created the deception. She sent false communications suggesting Earth was defenseless, that the human fleet was scattered, that morale had collapsed. Every message was carefully crafted to make Vexith believe his target was vulnerable. The bait had to be irresistible. Vexith had to commit his entire fleet. If even a portion stayed back, the plan would fail. Dr. Nari and her team installed the Prometheus device on the moon. It was disguised as a communications array, looking harmless. But beneath the surface, massive energy collectors and focusing lenses waited. When activated, they would tear reality itself. "I will stay and activate it manually," Nari told Taeyang. "The device cannot be triggered remotely. The Dominion would detect the signal and jam it." Taeyang nodded slowly. They both knew what this meant. Nari would die with the device. There would be no escape. "Thank you," Taeyang said simply. "Your sacrifice will save billions." "I am a scientist," Nari replied with a sad smile. "I created this weapon. It is only right that I am the one to use it." 6 weeks later, the Dominion fleet arrived. 5,000 warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Vexith stood on his new flagship, looking at Earth through the view screen. "Finally," he said, "this ends today. Advance. Show no mercy." The fleet moved forward in perfect formation. As they approached Earth, sensors showed minimal defenses. A few orbital platforms, perhaps 100 ships scattered around the planet. It seemed the intelligence was correct. Humanity had given up. Then, as the Dominion fleet passed the sun, Admiral Taeyang sprang his trap. 800 human warships emerged from behind the sun, using its massive gravity to hide their approach. At the same time, hidden defense platforms throughout the system activated, opening fire from all directions. The Dominion fleet found itself surrounded. Vexith realized too late that he had fallen into a trap, but he still had overwhelming numbers. This ambush would hurt, but not defeat him. "All ships eliminate the human fleet," Vexith ordered, "then proceed to Earth and bombard it until nothing remains." The battle was brutal. Human ships fought with desperate courage, knowing they were buying time for Prometheus. Lieutenant Minho led the last fighter squadron in human history, diving into the heart of the Dominion formation. His fighter danced between enemy ships, missiles, and lasers filling space around him. One by one, his squadron mates fell. Minho kept fighting, each maneuver bringing him closer to death. "This is Minho to all forces," he broadcast. "It has been an honor flying with you all. Remember us. Remember what we fought for." His fighter took a direct hit. The explosion was brief and bright. One more light extinguished among thousands. On the moon, Dr. Nari watched the battle through sensors. Her hand rested on the activation switch. The Dominion fleet was fully committed. They had no retreat path. It was time. Then Commander Yuna's voice came through urgently. "Dr. Nari, wait. I am receiving multiple transmissions. Ships entering the system. They are not Dominion." Nari pulled her hand back from the switch. "What? Who?" On Earth, Ambassador Bora watched her screen in disbelief and hope. 2,000 ships had just appeared. Their identification signals were clear. The Torvan Republic, the Kirin Confederation, the Lith Collective. A dozen other species, all subjugated by the Dominion, all choosing this moment to rebel. A Torvan admiral's face appeared on screens across the human fleet. "Humanity, you are not alone. You showed us that resistance is possible. Now we fight with you. Today we break our chains together." The Allied fleet struck the Dominion's exposed flanks with fury, born from centuries of oppression. These species had been waiting for a chance, for a sign that the Dominion could be beaten. Humanity had provided that sign. Admiral Taeyang made an instant decision. "All human forces coordinate with our allies. Dr. Nari, postpone Prometheus. We fight for victory, not mutual destruction." The battle became the largest in galactic history. 7,000 warships fought across the entire solar system. For hours, the outcome remained uncertain. Ships exploded by the hundreds. Debris filled space. The sun itself seemed to dim behind the smoke and fire. But slowly the tide turned. Dominion ships designed to fight inferior enemies struggled against coordinated attacks from multiple species. Their tactics were predictable. Their commanders were inflexible. They had forgotten how to fight enemies who could match them. Vexith watched his perfect fleet crumble. Panic spread through Dominion ranks as they realized they were losing. Ships tried to retreat only to be cut off by Allied forces. "How?" Vexith whispered. "How did mere humans do this? How did they unite the galaxy against us?" Those were his last words. A Torvan battleship fired its main weapons directly at his flagship. The explosion was massive, bright enough to be seen from Earth. The High Commander of the Varath Dominion died, never understanding what had defeated him. With their leader dead and their fleet shattered, the remaining Dominion ships surrendered or fled. Of 5,000 vessels, fewer than 300 escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. Humanity had won, not alone but together with species they had inspired. The invincible Dominion had been defeated, and across the galaxy, every subjugated world received the news and understood. Freedom was possible. The age of tyranny was ending. News of the Battle of Sol spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every species that had lived under Dominion rule heard the impossible truth. The invincible empire had been defeated. The tyrants had been broken. Within days, rebellions erupted on 40 worlds. Species that had accepted slavery for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom meant. They rose up against their Dominion masters with weapons, tools, and bare hands. The Dominion military, already devastated by the loss of its main fleet, could not respond to simultaneous uprisings. Their governance had been built entirely on fear. Once that fear broke, their empire crumbled like sand. On Earth, Admiral Taeyang met with the Torvan admiral who had led the Allied fleet to humanity's aid. They stood in the ruins of what had been a Dominion landing site, now reclaimed. "Your people saved us," Taeyang said. "Without your arrival, we would have activated our final weapon. Many would have died." The Torvan admiral shook his head. "No, Admiral. You saved us. For 300 years we lived as subjects. We accepted our fate because we believed the Dominion could not be beaten. Then we saw humans fighting, refusing to surrender, turning every defeat into a lesson. You showed us what was possible." "We fought for ourselves," Taeyang replied. "Yes," the Torvan agreed, "but in doing so you lit a fire that spread across the galaxy. Tyranny survives only when people believe resistance is futile. You proved that belief wrong." Ambassador Bora proposed the Galactic Coalition of Free Worlds. It would be an alliance based on cooperation, not domination. Each species would govern itself. They would help each other but never rule each other. The proposal was debated for months. Some species were suspicious, wondering if humanity simply wanted to replace the Dominion as the new rulers. Others remembered slavery and feared any large government. Bora addressed these concerns directly. "Humanity does not seek to rule you. We seek partners, not subjects. Look at our actions, not just our words. We share technology freely. We ask for cooperation, not tribute. We offer friendship to all who desire freedom." Slowly, species joined the coalition. First the Torvans, then the Kirin Confederation, then dozens more. Within a year, 300 species had signed the founding charter. Admiral Taeyang was offered supreme military command of the coalition. He refused. "Give the position to Admiral Kethrin of the Torvan Republic," he said. "Leadership must rotate among equals. If humanity always leads, we become what we fought against." This gesture convinced many doubters. Humanity truly did not seek dominion. They wanted a galaxy where no one ruled over others. Dr. Nari shared human technology with all coalition members. The shield systems, the weapons, the faster-than-light drives. Everything humanity had learned from captured Dominion ships was given freely. Knowledge should not be hoarded, Nari explained when some humans questioned this. We grew strong by learning from others. Now it is our turn to teach. The Prometheus device was dismantled. Its components were scattered across multiple worlds, ensuring no one species could ever rebuild it. Some protested this decision. That weapon nearly killed us all, Taeyang argued. It was necessary once, but no longer. We build a future based on cooperation, not mutual assured destruction. The Vareth Dominion itself did not disappear overnight. Pockets of resistance remained. Some Dominion commanders refused to surrender, continuing to fight isolated battles. But without central leadership or resources, they were defeated one by one. 5 years after the Battle of Seoul, the last Dominion holdouts surrendered. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was officially dissolved. The Vareth species itself faced a choice. Some coalition members wanted revenge, wanting to enslave the Vareth as they had enslaved others. Humanity argued against this. Punish the leaders, not the people, Ambassador Bora said. Most Vareth were not commanders or politicians. They were ordinary citizens living in the system they were born into. Breaking the cycle of vengeance starts with us. War crimes tribunals were established. Former Dominion commanders stood trial for their actions. The process was slow and careful, based on human legal principles of justice and evidence. Some were found guilty and punished. Others were acquitted. The Vareth people, freed from their own tyrannical government, proved capable of cooperation. Without the cult of superiority, they became productive coalition members. It turned out they had been prisoners of the system just like everyone else. 10 years after the war, the galaxy had transformed completely. Captain Hana, retired from military service, commanded a civilian exploration ship once more. Her crew was mixed, humans and aliens working together. When they encountered new species, they greeted them as friends, not threats. Lieutenant Minho had survived the Battle of Seoul after all. His damaged fighter had been recovered, and he had spent months in medical care. Now he trained coalition pilots from dozens of species, teaching them human tactics. Adaptability is everything, he told his students. Never fight the way your enemy expects. Learn from every battle. Survive today so you can fight tomorrow. His students came from worlds that had been enslaved for generations. Now they flew free, protecting their homes and helping others achieve the same freedom. Commander Yuna led the Coalition Intelligence Service. Her network spanned the galaxy, ensuring no new tyrant could rise unchallenged. She coordinated with operatives from hundreds of species, maintaining the peace through information and cooperation. General Suho oversaw the reconstruction of New Seoul. The planet had been devastated during the war, but now it was being rebuilt as a symbol of resilience. Its memorial listed every human and alien who had died fighting the Dominion. People from across the galaxy visited the memorial. They read the names and remembered the price of freedom. Many left flowers or notes, promising to never forget the sacrifice. Ambassador Bora became the Coalition's Secretary General. She addressed the Galactic Assembly regularly, speaking to representatives from 300 species. Her speeches emphasized cooperation, justice, and the refusal to accept oppression. We defeated tyranny not through superior strength, Bora said during one address, but through superior principles, courage, adaptability, the willingness to sacrifice for others. These are the foundations of our coalition. As long as we remember them, we will remain free. On Mars, in a classroom filled with students from many worlds, a young Torvin asked her human teacher a question. Teacher, why did humans fight when you knew you would probably lose? Why not just accept Dominion rule and survive? The teacher, a veteran of the Mars siege, smiled gently. She had heard this question many times. Because humanity learned something in our long history. Submission does not guarantee survival. It only guarantees you have already lost what makes survival worthwhile. We fought because freedom, dignity, and the right to determine our own fate are worth dying for. Another student, a young Kiran, raised his hand. Is that why the whole galaxy changed? Because humans would not submit? Not exactly, the teacher replied. The galaxy changed because humans refused to submit, and then showed everyone else they did not have to either. We set an example. We proved that resistance was possible. One species standing up to tyranny gave others the courage to do the same. A human student in the back spoke up. My grandmother fought in the war. She said the hardest part was not knowing if it would matter, not knowing if we would win. The teacher nodded. That is the nature of courage. Acting despite fear, fighting despite uncertainty. Your grandmother and millions like her made a choice. They chose freedom over safety, resistance over submission. Their choice changed everything. The Torvin student thought about this carefully. So the lesson is that one species or one person can change the whole galaxy. Yes, the teacher said. But only if they are willing to try. Only if they refuse to accept that things cannot change. Humanity set the galaxy's pride ablaze with a simple truth. Freedom is always possible if you are willing to fight for it. That truth, once understood, cannot be forgotten. The students nodded, understanding. They were the first generation born into freedom, raised in a galaxy without tyrants. They would never know the fear their parents had lived with. But they would remember the stories. They would honor the sacrifice. And they would defend the freedom that had been won with so much blood. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, similar lessons were taught. The story of humanity's war became legend, not because humans were perfect, but because they had shown what was possible when ordinary people refused to accept injustice. The galaxy would face new challenges. New conflicts would arise, but never again would a single empire dominate all others. The age of tyranny had ended. The age of cooperation had begun, and it all started because one species, when told to kneel, chose to stand instead.